My name is Laura Price. I am a Talbot County Councilwoman for 3 terms, and I am the current president of the Maryland Association of Counties. Perfect. Well, the best advice is definitely get to know them. They can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Every time that we've had a new local reporter come into Talbot County, and they do change over sometimes every year or so, I've always reached out to them to let them know that they can talk to me, and we usually go off the record because I feel like they come in the middle of a story, in the middle of a movie or a soap opera sometimes, and they don't necessarily know the history that has gone before. So the best advice that I've been able to do with them is make them my friend and let them ask me a lot of questions and let them know the history of the different issues that are going on in the county. I feel like if I allow them to ask me questions to get perspective on the issues, it builds the relationship and therefore builds the trust. I feel like they don't understand the difference between a locally elected official, a state official, and a federal official, and which issues that we actually have the ability to make a decision on. They just see that government is government. Really isn't. When you get in office as a locally elected official, the Democrat and Republican goes away, the politics goes away, and the issues that we deal with are things that just aren't political in nature. And so when the public thinks about us, they may have a conception of what's happening at the federal issue. And I feel like it's our job to explain to them what we really have control over. And honestly, as a local elected official, this is where all the decisions, where the rubber meets the road and where you can really get things done, because we are the person you're going to see in the grocery store and on the street, and where you can come and to the public meeting and you can actually get a chance to speak with us. So we are not the same, and we, I think, run for very, very different reasons than you do in a higher level of office. Well, I think there's 3 things. The first, I would say, is remember to listen. We are going to make a lot of very important public policy decisions, and there are always going to be people who show up at the public hearings and who reach out to you, and those voices can be very loud. Then there are people that are very silent, and just because they're silent doesn't mean they don't care. So it's very important to be in touch with the community and get a sense of where they are. And just because they're not in front of you, just because they don't send you an email, doesn't mean you can forget who those people are. And we all know the old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. We got to remember that we shouldn't always do that, that we have to be in tune with the community as a whole. And the silent majority sometimes is where the right decision is going to be. The second thing I would say is to always remember to be a public servant and not a politician, especially in the times that we're living in now, where things are very diverse and people are really running to their corners in politics. As a local elected official, that really shouldn't exist. So, as I record this today, the primary election is less than a week away. And then, of course, you all will be just having gotten through a general election. And there's going to be people who voted for you and people who didn't vote for you. And the important thing as an elected official is that you now work for everybody, and it doesn't matter who voted for you and who didn't. And you need to remember, back to my first point, of listening to everyone, even the ones who may not have supported you. Because if you listen to everybody, what they will do is respect you. And then all of that really does lead to compromise. And that is really the best thing that you can do. Everybody wants everything all their way, whether it's all the way to one side or the other. And if you end up going one direction and you forget all the people on the other side, then you've really only made one group happy. So if you will remember to take a little bit from everybody. And my saying is this: if you've made everybody a little bit angry, you've probably made the right decision. The most rewarding experience that I've had is the relationships that I have formed I mean, I love all of the policy decisions that have gone on for the last 12 years, and I know that I've made a difference. But along the way, the people that I've met, and I will tout Mako, the relationships that I have built with all of the other counties and their elected officials, and I truly consider them my friends. As you go to different conferences, and I would encourage you to make sure that you go to the conferences and to get to know these people, sit down next to somebody else that you wouldn't ordinarily sit down next to and get to know them. And you might actually find that you like the person that you're sitting next to, even if you don't agree politically. That's the key. If you have a relationship with someone and you like them and you build all of this, when you do come to a policy decision where you don't agree, at least you've already learned to like the other person and respect them. And at the end of the day, after you've gotten through all of that and you're maybe finishing your term in office and right now you're just starting, you have made just a whole group of friends, lifelong friends from all around the state. This is my favorite question because Mako has totally changed my way of thinking. When I first ran for office, there were issues that I ran for, whether that was budgets. I owned a business, so I was the only one that signed the front of a paycheck versus the back of a paycheck, and I had my own personal reasons for running and reasons that people asked me to run. But from day one, I embraced Mako. For the first 4 years I was in office and I wasn't in the position that I am now, being on the board of directors and an officer and moving up to being president of Mako. They taught me everything that I needed to really learn, to leave the party hat at the door, to have relationships with the other elected officials in other counties, and has had the opportunity to understand that rural and urban it exists, but it's not important. It doesn't matter how many zeros are at the end of your budget. Mako is what can make you grow as an elected official. There are so many resources available in the organization. And while each county gets one legislative representative, so it's truly one county, one vote, where your voice can be heard, whether you're a Montgomery County or a Talbot County, your voice is just as strong. But you get a chance to meet these other colleagues and realize that all of our problems are exactly the same. And you can figure out how they solved a problem, and you can work together and build those relationships. It is such an honor to be able to serve as your Maryland Association of Counties president for 2022. Mako has really taught me everything that I didn't know I needed to know when I first ran for office. There are so many opportunities for growth. You're watching this video and you're about to probably go into some sessions in January, some training sessions, and you're going to have opportunities to sit with other officials that have been around for a long time, the old timers, and I would encourage you very much to embrace all of that. I never thought 12 years ago when I ran for office that I would be able, from little old Talbot County, to lead a statewide organization. But in involving yourself in all the issues and making sure that not only are you going to pay attention to your local issues, but understanding that what happens in Annapolis, and that's where Mako comes in, what happens in Annapolis very much affects all of the decisions that you're going to make. There are lots of pieces of legislation, both good and bad, that will come through Annapolis, and you're going to have to change the decisions that you make based on what comes out of Annapolis. It could be unfunded mandates that come down that's going to totally turn your budget upside down, or zoning issues or other things that they pass. So understanding what's going on at the state level, even if you are, we have obviously a group of 24 officials, one from each county, that is going to sit in a seat during session and take those votes for Mako to go out and lobby to protect us. Because the most important thing that we have, the most important thing that you have as a locally elected official is local autonomy. We exist for a reason, and Mako will protect that. So you'll have your designated official, but I would encourage you, every one of you, to please be involved, use the resources that MACo has, understand the legislation that is coming out of Annapolis, and you will grow so much as an elected official. And the things that you ran on, the things that you're thinking right now, I'm gonna get all these things done, that may go all to the wind, because things could change in an instant. And I definitely learned that. The things that I ran for, some of them I worked on, but you definitely end up shifting and moving on to something else based on the things that happen around you. And your best guide is embracing the staff and the resources that this organization has. And I thank you very much for your future service that you're going to give to each and every one of your counties, and welcome to being an elected official.